Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yes, It's That program. The Friday before, we've got football this weekend.
Woohoo.
We've got the Browns and the Bengals, and we got some stuff to talk about. And I'm not sure if the problems that beset last podcast, if those issues have been resolved or not. We're going to wait and do our show and see. You never know, because nobody wants to take accountability for these things. But
That's
yeah,
the
that's what I've
American way
discovered.
these days.
They'll take your money, but they will not
Take
take any
accountability.
accountability. That's right. How you doing, Bronk?
I'm doing all right. In fact, I am going to miss the game on Sunday.
Really?
And also the Steelers game because I'm going away. I'm leaving the country for about 9 days, 10 days. So
Really?
yeah.
Where are you going?
Going to northern Spain.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I might be near the actual Black Cow of Death. You never know. Because that's where
not a good thing.
I'm not going to be running with the Bulls in Pamplona, but I'm going to be in the general area. So,
and hey, it's Chubba Wubba Hub. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And and that's right, Double P game day right around the corner. We're going to talk about predictions and analysis and all kinds of stuff. And I don't mean the analysis
game last night, though, man.
Fan analysis. Yeah. The fans in Kansas City need analysis at this point. Yeah, I mean the Lions came in and beat them and deserved to win the game. Outplayed
absolutely.
them and played with desire and heart. And it was a very close game, but a lot of dropped passes by the Chiefs, and that's their go-to. Turned out, Tony turned out to be really bad in that game, and we'll see. As seasons start, sometimes they continue. You never know. This might be the year the Chiefs, are not as great as everyone thinks. They're not as indestructible. For the Lions to go into Kansas City in an emotional game like this and to win on the road is real solid stuff.
The thing is, the Chiefs had a rough start, a couple years ago, where they were like 2-3 or 2-2, and everybody's writing them off. And they fucking won the Super Bowl, so we'll see. Yeah.
To me, and thanks, Jib Eagle, that is the current line on the game. Not that I don't tell anyone to bet on this because it's all fixed anyway. Don't bet. Don't bet. Enjoy the game. Be a fan.
Enjoy the game.
You work too hard for your money to throw it away like that.
Well, most of us, anyway.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody. The thing that you can't measure, and I can tell you, Denzel Ward's playing because he is. Yeah. And I can tell you that Juan Thornhill probably isn't because he's got a hamstring issue.
No, I didn't hear this.
Yes. Juan Thornhill has missed practice the last couple of days, and he is highly questionable. And if it's any kind of a calf pull, he's not going to be able to play. So you're going to see Rodney McLeod out there. You're going to see.
He's old.
Well, I'm just telling you what you're going to see. And what it comes down to me, wait, I'm being asked a question. Moo, have you ever heard of gematria affect sports? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither do I, really.
Yeah, I thought gematria were flowers. I have no idea. I have never heard of it. Thank you for asking.
Is that where you put your head in a pyramid and you get these vibrations and that helps you do better?
I have no idea. Yeah, and I can tell you everything that you already know. The money that the Browns organization has put in, contrasting the Guardians ownership. Zadarius Smith at $11.7 million, Dalvin Tomlinson, $14.25 million, Myles Garrett at $25 million, not to mention we're already with Deshaun Watson's contract. But Watson's $25 million compares to Nick Bosa's $34 million average, which is an NFL record for a defender.
And he gets hurt a lot. The Bosa family spends half the time on the trainer's bench.
Yeah. So, this is becoming a game that is a high stakes game. But we have Joel Bitonio at $16 million a year, Wyatt Teller at $14.2 million. The problem isn't Jimmy Haslam paying out and doling out all kinds of money. That's not the problem.
No, not yes. I mean, I'm totally agreeing with you.
Yeah, and what they're referring to is the Elite 11, 9 of whom are former Pro Bowlers, are in the primes of their careers. That would include Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward if he didn't get concussions, Wyatt Teller, Penn Teller, and you better not tell her I did it or else she's going to leave me.
Uri Geller. Uri Teller.
Watson, Njoku, and Garrett are in their 7th season. Amari Cooper and Smith are in their 9th, and Bitonio is 10th. We have strength at positions. It's, there's and then there's the new blood, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin. I'm not going to say anything more about blood.
Oh dear.
Jordan Akins, Tomlinson, we mentioned Smith, Okoronkwo, and Shelby Harris. 24 new players on this roster. All right. And Elijah Moore, they've been writing great things about him. We're going to see if any of it comes to pass. But we got rid of Joe Woods, thank God, and we've got Jim Schwartz. We've got rid of Mike Prefer, and we got Bubba Ventrone. But Bubba Ventrone's been given no easy task, seeing as how his primary kickoff returner is gone for the rest of his life, and that Cade York is no longer. Yes. And this is my favorite one. Alex Van Pelt, offensive coordinator, assumed the additional duties of quarterbacks coach. No, he is a quarterbacks coach. So let's make that real clear. He's not an offensive coordinator because Stefanski won't let him. But I guess what it all comes down to is this. You can have really good players, but what is your identity? And we're going to talk about how people have selected this game and who's picking who. But I can tell you the picks nationally all are saying that the Ravens will win, the Bengals will win, and the Steelers will win. And it's predicated on nothing else but history that the head coaches, especially of Pittsburgh and Baltimore, will be ready for the first game of the season, and they're going to come out firing. And that they are assertive, aggressive teams. That's the basis for the analysis, because you cannot, and I'm not going to say that they have as tough a game as Cleveland has coming right up against Cincinnati. But the issue is reputation not only determines the betting lines, but it also determines the calls that the officials make on the field, the things that they call interference or holding on versus what they don't call interference or holding on. There's so much to reputation in this league. The Steelers are the franchise of Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger. And, the Ravens are the team of the breakable quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who's broken, but is unbreakable because he's God. Did you know that? The Cincinnati Bengals have the other God, Joe Burrow. And the inarticulate Jamar Chase. We'll talk about him in just a minute. I would love to see his ass carried off the field. Honest to God. Yeah, you open your mouth like he opened his mouth, and there's just.
Oh, I missed this. You'll have to tell me what it was.
Oh, no, we'll get it out of the way then. He was basically saying that Cleveland is Cleveland, which is what everyone says. Browns is Browns. Cleveland is Cleveland.
Yeah, that's
and then
original.
he said, and the Cleveland, he goes, oh, I almost called them the Elves. So yeah, just belittling them and just being mouthy, like Jamar Chase has really ever fucking accomplished anything in his life. And you can look at him, and he is really arrogant, full of himself, and he's not real articulate or intelligent. All right. This isn't like listening, it's one thing to listen to a guy and you say, oh, he's pretty bright, pretty clever. But Jamar Chase is neither. He's just got a good connection with a good quarterback, and he's got a dumbass for a head coach. And that's where the Bengals-Browns game becomes such an interesting thing, because you have two dumbass coaches.
Correct.
And the other two coaches, and I'm going to say this with all due compliments, you have Tomlin and you have Harbaugh. They have no imagination. They have no imagination whatsoever. But they're honed in on what their identity is and what they're going to do long before the season begins. They're not like the Cleveland Browns, where it's like, well, we're just kind of reimagining what we're doing offensively. No. Even if the Steelers don't have a running game, they'll pound the running game. You know what I mean? They will hit people late. They'll injure people just like the Ravens do. And they just play very physical football. And I don't care how much money Jimmy Haslam's spending, and I really don't care the names of the people who are receiving that money. What I care about is, are these guys going to hit the field and really put out in week one, or are they going to do what they historically have done, which is where the Browns comes from, and play at 3/4 speed when everybody else is playing at full speed?
Yeah.
And I can't answer that question for you, but I will say this, that if they start doing that, people are going to get their asses yanked out of the game because Jim Schwartz isn't going to put up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the defense comes out and tries to play against this alleged Cincinnati juggernaut. And they do have three, really good wide receivers. Jamar Chase really is a fine wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. He's just, not very articulate. Yeah. And he not the best judgment in the world, shooting his mouth off like that. They got T. Higgins, who's trying to be the next guy who's negotiating his next contract at his fourth year instead of the fifth year, and nothing is happening on that front. And then Tyler Boyd, who's also has hurt the Browns a lot on third down receptions. And he's the guy who is there, Donovan Peoples-Jones, but he has the other weapons around him. So, the thing with the Browns is you come out with fire, you prevent them from running the football, and you go all out to get at that quarterback and to get in his passing lanes, to disrupt his vision, his timing. You got to do whatever it is you got to do. And until I see that, it's very hard to predict, And something, this is what Captain Fierce, I get what you're saying, but I want them to play him like he's fully mobile. I don't want anyone thinking, well, I don't think that Joe Burrow can do this or do this. Joe Burrow can put up a lot of points on you. I saw one, it was maybe I can find this. I thought it was 3 bold predictions.
Oh God.
Okay. This is a site called.
They're usually seriously idiotic when that's the excuse for idiot predictions.
Well, here we go. This is clutchpoints.com. And what it says is the 3 bold predictions One, Jamar Chase catches a touchdown pass. Well, that's a real tough one, right? I mean,
Wow.
I don't know what's so fucking bold about that, but I want you to listen to this for a reason. The second one is that Joe Burrow will throw for over 330 yards. And the third one is that the Bengals beat the Browns by more than 10 points. All right.
Okay.
Those are the three bold predictions. I'll tell you, if Jamar Chase only catches one touchdown, Joe Burrow can throw for 330 yards. The Browns can still beat them. Because if Joe Burrow is throwing for 330 yards because he's behind in the game and he needs the forward pass, or when a game is further enough out of reach, he's going to get more passing yardage. That doesn't mean a goddamn thing to me. Not at all. So let him throw for 330 yards and let Jamar Chase catch touchdown pass. I don't give a damn about that. But the Bengals beating the Browns by 10 plus, that is bold in and of the sense that it takes into the belief that Cincinnati is that much better than the Browns. For some reason, Cincinnati has had trouble with the Browns. I can't explain what that is. Be that as it may, teams got new guys. It's a different season. Yeah. But two out of those three bold predictions, again, I'll state this simply. If Jamar Chase catches a touchdown pass and Burrow throws for 330 yards, that does not lead to the Bengals beating the Browns by 10 or more points. It might. No. If we're giving up a lot of yardage on the ground, then that becomes a major problem. So, predictions, whatever. I mean, nobody has seen the product until it hits the field. And honestly, nobody knows, because we know that Burrow was going to play. What we don't know is if somebody's running him down, or if we're running surprise blitzes and he has to make a quick move or a quick jerk, whether that calf muscle, which is going to be sleeved up, I can guarantee you, whether that affects him. He's going to be taped up, and whether that affects his mobility or could re-tear. Nobody knows what's going to happen with that.
Or it could have even worse. I mean, he could plant his leg and have his whole Achilles go on him. So I'm going to be positive about one bit of news that I see happening on Sunday. And normally, as you've said, and as we've all watched, the Browns get absolutely bushwhacked on the first game of the season.
Yep.
And, Joe Thomas said in that preseason game a couple weeks ago that, it's hot. They come out, they're not prepared. They haven't played in any preseason games, all these stars, and they just get smacked. Well, the good news is that the weather is not going to be oppressively hot. It's only going to be in the 70s. The humidity is going to be kind of high. It might have some light rain. It might have some mild wind of 10 miles an hour. So that is fucking amazing. When we play on a 100-degree field on the first game of the season, we always get killed. But if it's a mild, normal day, for just playing football, then I think we have the better roster all the way through to beat the Bengals. Now, whether we have a better head coach, I don't know. But I think we've got the better team overall. I really do believe that.
Well, I think that there is a real chance that the Browns could win this football game. It's interesting that Jim Schwartz said this: "I'm not everybody's cup of tea. It's all business, and I hope I'm the guy that's cheering as much as I am bringing some fire. It's an urgent business that we're in. We have to be ready to go. I would hope that you would see me congratulating guys after a play.
Yeah.
I will explain this to you simply. Godfather 2. All right?
Okay.
All right. It's the business that we're in.
Yes, it's what we do. We actually have a serious guy.
When there was a man named Mo Green who did great things in Las Vegas and somebody put a bullet in his eye, I didn't ask who called the shot. This is the business that we're in. All right?
Yeah.
This is an urgent business. And I don't care. I'm not looking for the world's most popular coach. And God only knows Bill Belichick's won enough Super Bowls. And he is an absolutely disgusting guy. But you know, they come in all shapes and sizes. But you got to know the seriousness of all of this. The fact that Schwartz is a disciplinarian, you know, maybe the players don't believe it, but after a week 1 loss, they're gonna believe it.
Oh yeah, they would too.
I mean, you see, a lot of times it's like you're kind of, if you think you can kiss Jim Schwartz's ass, it's not gonna work because that's not the way he works. All right, you know, during the course of training camp, Schwartz was in the middle of drills, so he could see team periods from every angle. While you know, he was doling out some choice words for people who weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. But on the other hand, he will reward somebody like wearing the jersey of a player he thought was embodying doing things the right way. You see, with Jim Schwartz, it's effort. It's being smart and being in the right place at the right time, but it's following through and going that extra mile. And the fact is that extra mile can get somebody hurt, can get you hurt, you know, but that's the business they're in. And this is the type of person, not Joe Woods, who was, I don't know what he was, to be very honest, but he surely was not the kind of guy who players got up for. That much I can tell you. Schwartz went on to say, I'm not just out there ragging on people, being a jerk for no reason. It's a performance-based business. If they're not performing up to par, I'm not going to sit around and not say anything. I mean, my job is to make sure it's right. And sometimes ruffled feathers can help a guy perform. So if you're thin-skinned, defense in the NFL is not the business for you. If you're Greedy Williams,
oh no,
NFL is not the business for you. You got to go find something else to do. And, you know, that is the bottom line. Meanwhile, Schwartz has said, you know, everything they ran was very vanilla in the preseason. We know that. They're going to have new stuff and we're going to have new stuff, Schwartz said. What's all said and done, it's who puts their players in the best position and who executes the best. This is a simple game. I mean, and I'm not saying it's as simple as when Vince Lombardi made it an X and O's game, but it is a predictable outcome when one team is playing harder than the other.
Absolutely.
And it's obvious. That's the eye test. And we've seen this way too many times in Cleveland. And you got to have a game plan, but the players have to know that they got to go after it hard. And what I'm saying is nothing revolutionary. It's just something that seems to evade the Browns hierarchy in years past. We'll see if this guy can break through and give us the defense that we need in a division that it is absolutely necessary.
Well, I mean, win this division, you have to win at least 4 games against your other division. You have to win. You have to go at least 4-2 minimum.
And you got to stand up to the bully. You got to be able to prove to them that you can whip their ass, because if their best game isn't good enough to beat your best game and you go in with your best game every time, we'll see who quits first.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. And, you know, like I said, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, it's not going to be easy. But the way it gets easier is if you put them in more predictable passing situations. And the other thing is defensively, if your safeties are really on the same page and are covering men and double covering the right men rather than just leaving their men in for no reason. And, 2-16-1 in week one since 2004 pretty well does say it all, Jim Eagle. This has just, when you're playing from behind in this league, it's really difficult. And this would be like 2 losses because if you lose your home game against
you lose a tiebreaker,
a divisional opponent, then that's about as bad as it's going to get for one loss. Here's the last thing he had to say. You'll hear me say that the stats that mean the most to me are points allowed and takeaways. Because our job, keep the points down and give the ball back to the offense. And the way you keep points down is you stop drives. When it's all said and done, our job is to limit points. Our job is to get the ball back. Anything else is good for you guys to write about. It's good for fans to talk about. But our job, we're going to keep our eye on trying to win the game and trying to keep points down and try to put our offense in good position. Now, it's almost ridiculous in its simplicity. But again, like I told you in the beginning of the program, it's not like Tomlin and Harbaugh are PhD guys.
Correct.
Right? They don't have that Ivy League thing that
they don't have that thing going on there.
Yeah. But sometimes, what was it? There's something to be said about the uncluttered mind. You keep it simple, stupid. And I'm not saying the football players are stupid, but the game itself is, and we don't get turnovers. The big thing about the Browns defensively, and I think a lot of it is because we didn't play very hard under Joe Woods. We're never seemingly going at it at full speed because it didn't look like the players were sure about where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, we were the rubber band defense, but we always snapped.
We were always in the wrong place. I don't think we even understood what the concept was. And I don't think that Woods could. I don't think that he could voice what it was either. Very, very strange situation there. And we've had aggressive guys. We had the Ryan brother who looks like the Ryan brother who looked like Thor, and guys who are willing to blitz every man on the field and just take wild, ridiculous chances.
Oh yeah, Ryan,
Buddy's brother,
Rob Ryan
or
I don't know. Who cares?
But it's not just blind aggression, but it's putting yourself in a position where a team has to do something, for instance, throw the ball downfield to get first downs, and putting men in positions, if they're playing hard, to get turnovers. It's the short field instead of the long field. And I can't tell you how many drives for the Browns consistently begin inside their 20 because we give up too much yardage even if we stop them. And then they kick us down inside the 15-yard line and, try going 85 yards consistently. And then we have Kevin Stefanski to deal with in the red zone. We don't have their defense. That's not enough. We have an idiotic coach calling bad plays in the red zone. So, let's see what
it's got the point.
B Skrill says it was a reason why I didn't root for the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Burrow used to love taking shots at the Browns when Cincinnati were on their winning streak. I think Cincinnati, let me explain something because you bring up a point here that's worth mentioning and talking about. The NFL is, and this is the best way I can put it, the league is set up pretty brilliantly when it comes to the draft. It isn't like baseball where the draft is just, God only knows, where guys come from and how long it takes them to get up from the, through the minor leagues, and into the major league systems. And most of them never get out, and the draft goes on for 75 rounds or whatever the hell it is. Football is concise, You got a first round, maybe got multiple first rounds or second rounds or third rounds. And fourth rounds, you're looking for value. Fifth round, you're looking for value. And sixth and seventh, you might get lucky, but you don't count on a goddamn thing. And it's, if you hit it good, you get a Joe Burrow, and I'm not going to say bad things about him because he's a good quarterback. If you get a Joe Burrow and he turns out to be as good as you thought he was, that's a huge step in the right direction. The question is not, can you get good in the NFL? Because it's easier to get good in that sport than it is in any other sport. It's easier to get good even than the NBA is, and way easier than Major League Baseball is. And the reason is because you can't catch people by surprise for long. There's so much film, so much analysis going on that if you have that breakout season, and this is why we were all watching the Lions game saying, well, that they resumed from where they were last year. Good for them, because they started out the year 1-6, then they won all those games and just came up short of the playoffs. And now they start out on the road in Kansas City and win. But to stay that good, many teams have managed to become a 2 or 3 year bright light.
Yeah.
But after that, because the guys are coming and going all the time, and their 5 years are done, and the next thing you know, they're getting big contracts from other teams. It's, the Cincinnati Bengals and Cincinnati fans, especially, who are really, let's just say, bold right now. If that guy, Joe Burrow, goes down again this year, which he has every year so far, you're dead meat. You got no backup quarterback. You got nobody to give the ball to Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. And you don't have a fucking running game either.
Yep.
I think, depth is so hard to get when you're trying to hold on to your good players. So I look at Cincinnati right now as a team that's good, but I don't see them as 10, 12 years good. Okay.
No.
And I don't see their head coach as being a great leader of men. He seems to be more of a guy who's along for the ride. But I don't see him as being they don't have an image like the Ravens do and the Steelers do. Right now, they're just kind of like, oh, well, they're really good because they're fun to watch because they got an offense. Well, so were the San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts, and it didn't result in anything.
Work for them, yeah.
I mean, Dan Marino. You had the three amigos, but you didn't have a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's easy to get good, and as hard as the Browns even had a good year where they got into the playoffs. It's easy to get good, but it's not easy to stay that way. And that's the way I kind of look at this.
Yeah. And the thing about the Bengals, in my mind, is that I don't think they've got the best offensive line or the best defensive line in the division. So if you're going to win the AFC North, you need to have those two things. And the Browns may have the best offensive line. And we're going to find out whether all these new guys on the Browns' defensive line is as they are being hyped. If they are, then we actually have the best lines, which would be amazing. And we would win the division then.
Yeah. And B. Skrills, I'll agree with you. Joe Burrow is a good quarterback, but he's not good
if he's a magician. If he's on the ground, dead.
If he's on the ground holding his leg, he's not very good, and he can't do it all by himself, and the team can't do it without him.
Well, last night was a good example. I mean, Mahomes. I mean, the Chiefs were playing such scrappy offense. I mean, or scruffy offense, even the better word. I mean, where Mahomes literally had to fucking do everything because nobody else was doing anything. And that offensive line got away with murder. When the Detroit guys broke free from the guy who was blocking them. They got blocked in the back about every single time the referees didn't call dick. They called one holding penalty, from what I can remember. So the way that game was officiated, if that's a clue to how the season's going to be, we're going to have some very quick finishing games under 3 hours, and there's going to be very little penalties because shit was going on and it wasn't called yet last
Well,
night.
obviously, somebody wanted it to be an even up game, and it was an even up game. But and David, yeah, 30-10. That's bold prediction. I'm not gonna say yay or nay to that. And everybody has their own predictions. You think that DeWand is going to be a starter?
Well, I kind of hope not.
Well, that would mean that the Jedrick Wills and that there is going to be
Conklin.
Yeah, going to be guys skipping and jumping and around to the left side and the right side, and we don't need that anymore. What I'll say is this: the Bengals without Joe Burrow don't have much, and even with Joe Burrow, if that right now the Chiefs are being questioned. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone said, and B. Skrills even talking about Travis Kelce. Well, you could put it to that. You can say it's because he wasn't playing, but that isn't why Tony was dropping all those passes. That there just wasn't any help for Mahomes out there.
Yeah.
And Mahomes doesn't move quite as sprightly as he used to. And he wants to throw the ball. He doesn't want to scramble. He's pretty well taped up because they can't afford to lose him. But there is an invisible enemy, and that's the press. When they turn on you hard. And what I will tell you is, if the Cleveland Browns come out and beat the Cincinnati Bengals, it'll start. The little echoes coming from maybe the Bengals aren't that good after all.
Yeah, that's what would be said. It wouldn't be the Browns are good. It would be the Bengals aren't that good.
But what happens there, and this is why, even though I don't like the Steelers and I don't like the Ravens, I respect the fact that their two head coaches can keep their players' heads in the right place.
Yeah,
because
focused.
Yep. The bottom line is the press jumps all over the Browns, and the year after, the good year, and then Baker Mayfield's hurt. He hurts his shoulder, and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. It was like, same old Browns. That's all they have to say. And the guys drop their heads to the locker room, and we don't have the coaching staff can get them. There's too many guys who've been around who have heard the same thing over and over again. Well, it's really difficult with all the gambling that's being done in these games, with the high-profile reporting that's being done in these games, for the press who has nothing to talk about in between weeks except what happened the week before. And if that was not good for somebody, then, this team's a disappointment. So, again, I can tell you about how people are predicting this game, and it's very predictable that the Bengals are going to win. No one is calling for a blowout, mind you. They're saying that the Bengals are going to win 27-21, 24-21, and I have a bunch of them lined up here, and I don't even need to read them. And this is interesting. The whole spectrum issue with ESPN is driving people insane. The other thing that's driving people insane is you didn't think that the pigs could become bigger pigs, but realistically, 6 networks? Are you kidding me? Showing football games?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, there's no consolidation anymore. Now it's this many games is going to be shown on this network. I mean, I read something that was just absolutely insane.
How
that
insane was it?
50% of the revenue of the Fox television network comes from football.
I can believe it.
That's
College football,
nuts, man.
NFL. Yep. Yep.
And that, and this is such a big money game, and it's being shoveled onto the shoulders of working class people. And how do you afford all this? And it's like, I got to get the Peacock app. I got, or what do I have to get YouTube TV? What do I need that for? But if you want to watch the games, that's the way you got to do it. And now it's like trying to figure out which network your game's on.
Yeah.
But it's such a big deal and such a source of revenue that, Fox Sports Network, all of these things and all these talk shows will overanalyze things to death. And if they start saying bad things about teams, it can get into the players' heads, and it's harder and harder to run away from. What I was saying earlier in the program, if you didn't hear, Juan Thornhill is questionable for the game with a calf injury. Denzel Ward is cleared to play, although I don't know how clear in the head he is. And of course, Joe Burrow will start.
Can I ask a question? What's
Sure.
the ruling now on inactives? Is it still the same, like 53-man roster, and there's like, I don't know, 6-7 guys inactive, or
you're asking the wrong guy, because
maybe
quite
somebody
honestly,
in the chat room, I don't know whether that's been changed. I know they got that third string quarterback guy that can come in.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into. I mean, when somebody implements a 1-year rule, you can just go ahead and fair catch it anywhere inside the 25, and you'll get it at the 25. We're going to experiment with that rule this year. I mean, who can keep up with all of this shit?
No one can.
And so honestly, whatever it is, as a fan, it doesn't affect me. And, and that's right, Double P. I was like, well, geez, this Thursday, this must be an ESPN game. Is that, and it's like NBC. It's all over the place. The games are all over the place. And it's big money. Oh my God. There's money being wagered. There's money being paid to watch the games, all of it. And
it's a worldwide thing, man.
in the beginning, I'm taking off out of Ohio on the 13th of October, and I got to go back to Florida. So it's going to be harder for me to catch the games because I really haven't set up everything for Florida. I have everything set up here. So, but I have local television. I got the local channels. And that's all I need for the Browns games.
So on local TV, what channels? If I was in Cleveland, what would I have been able to watch last night? I mean, what TV channel was it on?
WKYC TV3 is the NBC affiliate.
So it was on the NBC affiliate in Cleveland.
That's correct. And, as far as regular season games, it will be 19 CBS, TV 19. And if the game then is on NFL Network, if it's on ESPN, or if, it's what's confusing to the fans is if you want the NFL Sunday ticket the way you had the Sunday ticket with DirecTV, you got to go to YouTube TV. I mean, but then YouTube TV doesn't have all the games.
Yeah, correct. Like Apple TV, I think, is getting involved, and everyone's getting involved.
Yeah, and it really is a clusterfuck. So who knows? Rules? There are no rules. It's like rollerball.
Yeah.
So Thornhill, that could hurt because he.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's disturbing.
And Dan Labby predicts that the Browns are going to win, and he'd be like the only one who. Well, there may be a few, but he thinks the Browns are going to win 11 games this year, and so he's optimistic. I'm not going to rain on his parade. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow has become the second highest player in the NFL. If you didn't know, $275 million, second most guaranteed money behind Deshaun Watson. So there's that. You know, it's not everybody is Jamar chasing. Some of the Bengals have good things to say about the Browns and are being sensible about this, as the Browns are, as opposed to T. Higgins, who, says he has no clue about the status of a possible long-term deal that his agents are trying to work out for him, because he doesn't have a goddamn clue about when to open his mouth or not. And the best thing that his agents could tell him to do would be to shut the fuck up. That'd be the best
advice.
thing. Yeah. So what's next? USA Today. We have a couple of people from USA Today who are picking. Tyler Dragon is picking Bengals 27-21. Victoria Hernandez, the Bengals 24-21. Jordan Mendoza, the Bengals 24, the Browns 20. So, I mean, I can sit here and read these things off to you, and it doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. All right? Doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot to me. Basically, on ESPN, Moody is saying that the Bengals will win 23-20, but Walder is saying that the Browns will win 23-16. So one person on ESPN said that they would win, and that's we'll take whatever we can get. And again, from NFL.com, every person but one, somebody named Gennaro, said the Browns are going to win 22-21. The other people have the Bengals winning close games. And that seems to be the belief. And it's sticking close to what the gambling lines are on the game. From Bleacher Report, we've got a bunch of people. Davenport wants the Bengals. Gagnon wants the Browns. Hanford, the Bengals. Knox, the Browns. I mean, the Moten and O'Donnell, the Bengals, and Sobleski, who we know, the Browns. The consensus is the Bengals would win 28-23. Even the New York Times kind of got its nose in there. And they're picking the Browns plus 2.5, but they're not giving a score on the game. And wow. I don't really like to get into gambling lines because it's sickening to me. Straight up, Dan Florio is saying the Bengals 24-17, and Sims, the Bengals 24-21. So most of the national sources are picking the Bengals to win this football game. And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, because again, it's reputation at this point. And but fan-sided NFLSpinZone.com is saying the Browns will win 23-21. Me personally, boy, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, yep. I start out every single year saying the same thing. And hey, Radu, how you doing? Week one, you can have whatever opinion you want because we haven't seen the finished product. We haven't seen anyone's finished product. We can say that we've seen the Chiefs and the Lions, but we can't say anything else at this point. If you're a fan, you got to pick your team to win week one because it becomes unduly negative to sit there. Oh, we're going to lose like we always do. 2-16-1. It's going to be 2-17-1. If that's all it is, you're really not making a prediction. You're just overwhelmed with doom. My feeling is the Browns are going to win this football game, and I think they're going to win somewhere in the range of 27-24. I think they're going to get the job done. But the most important part of it is getting off to a fast start in the game and a fast start defensively. Got to put a lick on somebody and lay them out good. And I don't mean take them out of the game, but I mean something early needs to happen to get that defense fired up. A takeaway, an induced fumble, a big sack on a third down, something that gets some field position for our offense so that we can use the whole field. And it's going to be a very interesting situation.
Well, I'll further jump on that and say that I think the Browns are going to get out to that a decent lead, and then Burrow will have to throw the ball and claw his way back. But I'm going to say the Browns are going to win 34-23, and what I'm thinking is going to happen is that Bajorquez is going to pin the Bengals inside the 10 a couple times, and we're going to get a safety, or we are going to get a pick six, running it in from 10 yards out, or something like that. But not all of our points are going to be scored by the offense. But the one person that neither one of us have mentioned yet in this program who's going to have a big game, and that is Nick Chubb. I think Chubb runs over the Bengals and has a big game because all the media, everything's been saying, well, Amari Cooper, he's going to get 5 catches, and DPJ, he's going to get 30 yards, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. Nick Chubb is the person to go with on your fantasy team if you're so inclined.
Well, one thing I'll say about the ground game in Cleveland, it never seems to be consistently utilized by the play caller. And part of this game is to try to keep the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, because I think anybody in the chat room, no matter how they feel about the outcome of this game, that so much of it is in the hands of Joe Burrow that the more you hand him the ball, the more danger you're in.
Correct.
He's going to get it right eventually.
Game. It's going to be a quicker game. There's going to be less penalties, and the game seems to move along a lot quicker. So,
well, what I hope, if Nick Chubb sees seams that allow him to run into the secondary, I don't mean Nick Chubb pounding out 4, 5, 6 yard gains, but
40-yard gains,
opening up to get through holes and getting into the secondary. That's how he runs 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards at a clip, because I don't think people fully understand, because he was not named a captain this year. He didn't have anything negative to say about it. The only thing he said was, I am still working, I'm working out, and I'm getting strong and getting prepared for a long season. And it's no different than Jim Brown.
Yeah.
He ain't going to touch the ball in the preseason, and he is our horse. And if he gets off to the kind of start where, and I said this in the last podcast, although you may not have heard it because it was so choppy. The stream was all fucked up.
I heard about half of the program, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so did I. I was so fed up with that. I'm glad to see that
it was stuck on this
today.
weird moo face that you look like you were in some gurning competition.
I should have done the Mitch McConnell face.
Yeah.
Would make for a good podcast.
Absolutely.
But if Nick Chubb gets out there and he starts getting big gains, and they're going to have to move those new safeties up to the line of scrimmage to try to take that away from the Browns, they're going to be in a world of fucking hurt, because regardless of, is he going to be the old Deshaun Watson, or is he going to be last year's Deshaun Watson? He will beat your ass if you jam people up to the line of scrimmage because you can't stop the run. He will find somebody down the field, and there will be big plays because he has that capability.
He can see open receivers. We haven't had a quarterback who could see open receivers. Mayfield was too short. He couldn't see whether they were
Jacoby Brissett couldn't drop the ball in for long games.
The ball there. Yeah.
It's just not what he does. And I like Jacoby Brissett. Good guy.
Great man.
A good backup and all that. But he never, and people say, we really didn't have the kind of season 7-10. But you look at Jacoby Brissett's record as starting quarterback, and it's not that unimaginable. He doesn't put enough points on the board. He's one of those guys who, you get 17, 20 points and you pray to the baby Jesus that the defense holds up. Then you look beside you and there's Joe Wood standing there and you realize you're in deep shit.
Yeah.
Oh God. And of course Kozar could see receivers. Yes.
Yeah, well, how many years ago was that?
Yeah, well, the one thing about that Kozar could see, he could see blitzes coming. He could read
see the
defensive alignments very quickly at the line of scrimmage. The difference here is that if a safety takes a wrong step against, whether it's Amari Cooper or whether it's against Elijah Moore, and there's guys with 4.4 speed, they're just going to streak toward the middle of the field. And there's the arm strength there for Deshaun Watson and the touch to put that ball where he needs to put it. So you could see some really big plays if the running game gets off to a good start. I'm calling this game 27-24 for the Browns. There's only one way we find out. We sit and we watch.
Well, it's unusual that we both have the Browns at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, we're fans of the team, and I'll say this. The quality of the players is something to cheer for, and I feel bad for Jose Ramirez. The Cleveland Guardians are a joke, and they just don't have they're not serious about getting good players. So that's the way that goes down. But I don't even want to talk about that. That's Mickey Mouse. This is football season now. I will see you at halftime and postgame on Sunday. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, hope for the best. And if it doesn't go well, you can always have a cow at the half and after the game to push you off the ledge.
Well, I remember a couple years ago, the Browns came into the Cleveland Browns Stadium and they got their ass handed to them by the Titans, lost something like 40-17. And you had warned us all the previous night, Friday night about it. I said, no, the Browns are going to do it. They're going to win. And I went really bullish on it. And then they gave up 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, let's all pray to the baby Jesus.
Keep our fingers
whoever
crossed.
you pray to.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We will be back, as I said, Sunday at halftime and after the game. So just I'll put them up on Twitter, the links, and you'll know where they are. And come join us. We love to have people around.
Can we have a last word from either Don Criqui or Dick Goddard?
It was another beautiful day in Northeast Ohio. Now, they called for rain, but I didn't. And the reason is
I'm dead.
I have an in with God. And it's God who makes the weather and the woolly bears and the buzzards in Hinckley. Somebody told me that, do you know why Dick Goddard became a meteorologist?
No, I don't.
Because he was when he entered the armed forces, they gave him a choice to take a rifle or there was a meteorology position. He took the meteorology position, and wasn't that the right decision?
Yeah.
I can't see him with, do you feel lucky, punk? Well,
no.
Do you? I can't see that.
I can't see him going out and killing fascists. No. No, it'd be the other way around.
All right. Bronk, thanks for joining me as always. And everybody take care and have yourselves a good and lucky weekend.
Hopefully when I'm back, we'll be 2-0 next time you see me.
Yeah. Have a safe trip, by the way.
Yeah, I will.
And until the weekend, until Sunday, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Bye.